Once upon a time, there was a little girl who was loved by everyone. Her grandmother had made her a beautiful red hooded cloak, which she wore so often that everyone called her Little Red Riding Hood. One day, her mother said, "Take this basket of cakes and a bottle of wine to your grandmother. She is sick and weak. Go quickly and do not stray from the path." Little Red Riding Hood set out immediately, promising to be careful. She walked through the forest, enjoying the beauty around her. As she walked, a wolf approached her. He wanted to eat her right then and there, but he dared not because of some woodcutters nearby. The wolf asked where she was going. "I am going to see my grandmother," she replied. "She lives in a house beyond the mill in the forest." The wolf thought to himself, "What a tender young creature. I will eat her up," but first he decided to trick her. "Why don't you pick some flowers for your grandmother?" he suggested. Little Red Riding Hood, enchanted by the flowers, forgot her mother's advice and strayed from the path to gather a bouquet for her grandmother. Meanwhile, the wolf ran straight to the grandmother's house and knocked on the door. "Who is there?" the grandmother asked. "It is your granddaughter, Little Red Riding Hood," the wolf replied, disguising his voice. The wolf sprang upon the grandmother and devoured her in an instant. He then put on her clothes and lay in her bed, waiting for Little Red Riding Hood. Soon after, Little Red Riding Hood arrived at her grandmother's house and knocked on the door. "Who is there?" the wolf asked. "It is your granddaughter, Little Red Riding Hood," she replied. "Come in, my dear," the wolf said. As Little Red Riding Hood approached the bed, she noticed something strange. "Grandmother, what big arms you have," she said. "All the better to hug you with," the wolf replied. "Grandmother, what big teeth you have, all the better to eat you with," and with that, the wolf leapt out of the bed and gobbled her up. Thus, the little girl and her grandmother met their end at the hands of the wicked wolf. The moral of the story is that children, especially young girls, should never talk to strangers, for they risk being preyed upon by wolves in many forms.